Which players deserve to be honored as NFL award winners from the 2022 NFL season? This is my opinion, my picks for who should be honored as the award winners. From the coaches to the rookies, my picks for each NFL award. Before I give you my award winners, make sure that you give me your award winners in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to spike the like button, and let's kick off my award winners with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, this wasn't the greatest group of players, offensive playmakers from the draft that we've ever seen, but my choice is going to be the electric, powerful runner from the Seattle Seahawks, Kenneth Walker. I'm going with Kenneth Walker as the only rookie running back to rush for over 1,000 yards in 2022. He was, in my opinion, the catalyst of the Seattle Seahawks taking off and making the playoffs. In their final 4 games, Kenneth Walker rushed for 100 yards 3 times in games that they needed to have to get to the playoffs and make the playoffs. Kenneth Walker was a huge reason why they won those games. He is dynamic. His ability to jump cut and make people miss in the hole and then accelerate as a home run hitter is special. He was my favorite running back in the draft, and I think he's going to be one of the best in the game for years to come. My Defensive Rookie of the Year was a lot easier to choose from here. There were not a ton of choices that stood out as much as Sauce Gardner. And quite frankly, there have not been as many rookie corners in the history of the NFL as good as Sauce Gardner from the New York Jets. You could argue that Sauce, in his first year in the NFL, is the best corner in the NFL. I don't know if I have to say anything more than that, but he transformed the secondary of the Jets. People forget how bad the secondary of the Jets was before Sauce Gardner. He is an absolute stud, whether it be in man, lockdown, press coverage, or in zone. He showed that he could play at the NFL level right away. He is absolutely special, and he may be on a trajectory to become the best corner for many years in this NFL. The Comeback Player of the Year award is oftentimes the most narrative-driven award, and I am going to pick someone that was completely unique to 2022 and the 2022 season, which made it extremely special to watch. And my selection is Geno Smith. I've never seen a quarterback go from bust to career backup to all of a sudden he's good now. I've never seen that before in the history of the NFL as a fan. Geno Smith went from backup for many years, never seeing the field pretty much, to he's like good enough to set records for the Seattle Seahawks, surpass Russell Wilson in these records, highest completion percentage ever for the Seattle Seahawks, lead them to the playoffs, a team that nobody thought would make the playoffs, a team that everybody thought was going to be a top 5 pick. Nobody thought Seattle would be good. And I understand I already gave Kenneth Walker the Rookie of the Year award, and he was a big part of this team. But this team does not win games without Geno Smith. Geno was legitimately good. He went in there, he executed the offense, he made big time throws, he extended plays when he needed to, he was extremely accurate. Geno Smith was the leader this team needed, and the answer post Russell Wilson for this team. For the Offensive Player of the Year, I oftentimes pick the biggest playmaker in the NFL, whether it be a wide receiver, a tight end, or a running back. I'm selecting the guy that was simply unstoppable as a skill position player. And my selection for 2022 is the one that I predicted before the season. That is Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. This wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, was simply undeniable this past season. He was unstoppable. That game against the Buffalo Bills, man. He's playing one of the best teams in the league. He puts the team on his back. He makes that ridiculous one-hand catch. And it felt like he had a really good case, in my opinion, to be the runner-up for the MVP award. He really did. Because I don't think without Justin Jefferson, this team is as good in close games as they were. Remember, the Vikings were a ridiculously good close game team this year. They did not lose a game decided by a touchdown all season long. They did not until the playoffs. So Justin Jefferson was making those big catches in those key moments on third down in the red zone. That is the definition of a valuable wide receiver, a valuable player, and the offensive player of the year. Not to mention, he put up nearly historic numbers this year in terms of yardage and also led the NFL in receptions. My defensive player of the year selection, this one was difficult. I could have went in a couple different directions, but oftentimes when it's that close, I tend to steer towards which defense did I believe was the best in the NFL and how can I best represent that, because it's about representing the 2022 NFL season as a whole, and I believe that Nick Bosa is the selection here for Defensive Player of the Year. He led the NFL in sacks, he led the NFL in pressures, he was the star, make no question about it, for the best defense in the NFL against the run, interceptions, and the number one points and yards defense in the league. Period. So Nick Bosa was that dude. And you could argue the best edge rusher in the NFL. Shout out to Chris Jones. Shout out to Parsons as well. But Nick Bosa represents 2022 the best as an all-around stud as an edge rusher. My Assistant Coach of the Year award is almost in combination with my Defensive Player of the Year, as DeMeco Ryans was largely responsible for putting Nick Bosa in position to succeed this season. DeMeco Ryans is my selection for Assistant Coach of the Year. DeMeco Ryans led the best defense in the NFL. Points allowed, yards allowed, rush defense. DeMeco Ryans always seemingly had the right plan for his opponent and was rarely ever out-prepared or out-coached. DeMeco Ryans brought great leadership and great energy to the sideline for the 49ers. And as good as Kyle Shanahan is, this was a defense-first team for much of the season. To have multiple quarterbacks at the helm for the 49ers, the defense had to step up, and they did. DeMeco Ryans is the Assistant Coach of the Year. When it comes to the Coach of the Year, this was a two-horse race, in my opinion, between Kyle Shanahan and Brian Daboll of the New York Giants. It was extremely close, and I actually switched my pick at the last second. I was gonna go with Kyle Shanahan because of what he was able to do with three quarterbacks, and simply nobody could really do that in the NFL other than Kyle Shanahan. So you gotta give him the props. But understanding that Nick Bosa's Defensive Player of the Year, DeMeco Ryans did his thing on defense, I didn't want to give the Niners all of these awards. I'm going to go with Brian Daboll as the Coach of the Year. And it's not just because I want to divide it evenly, but I do believe Brian Daboll did the most with the least. I think when you look at the New York Giants roster, it's a below average, at the very least, roster. He does not have a lot of talent. The offensive line wasn't very good. The receiving core wasn't very good. The defense as a whole was missing some pieces. And Brian Daboll went in there, and from day one, he established a culture. In week one, they go for two to win the game. You can tell that he has the respect of his leaders, like Saquon Barkley. He gets him back on track in his career. He gets Daniel Jones to play the best football of his career. He takes Isaiah Hodgins off the practice squad of Buffalo and puts him in a position to succeed. And this coaching staff completely revamped and reestablished the image of the New York G-Men in the NFL. Took them to the playoffs for the first time since, I want to say, 2016. Extremely impressive. Brian Daboll did his thing from a head coach standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. That is the Coach of the Year, doing the most with the least. My executive of the year, which I believe is an extremely important award that may not be treated as such across the media and the NFL landscape, but oftentimes the executive of the year is driving the future of the NFL in terms of team building, which I'm fascinated with. And I believe that this award should go to the general manager that best represents how a team should be built on average. And I believe that is Howie Roseman of the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Howie Roseman is not just the best general manager in the NFL. I think he is by far the best general manager in the NFL. And he definitely had a stretch earlier in his career around 2017, 2016, 18-ish, where he was also discussed as arguably the best in the game. He had a small stretch where it felt like he was throwing things at the wall, trying to get them to stick, but they just weren't able to. And he made the bold decisions to move forward with his organization. Bring in new coaching under Nick Sirianni. Move off of Carson Wentz and bring in Jalen Hurts. And draft Jalen Hurts when no one else thought they should. Trade for A.J. Brown to elevate Jalen Hurts. Bring in James Bradberry. Sign Hassan Reddick. Try to build on their strengths that they already have at offensive and defensive line. And this guy has built the best line of scrimmage play in the NFL. And he has built his team and his identity off of that in Philadelphia. He's the best general manager in the league by far. Howie Roseman is the executive of the year. The most valuable player in the NFL for the 2022 NFL season is none other than the best player in the league. That is Patrick Mahomes. You have to give this award to Mahomes. This isn't exactly the greatest year for the MVP award in terms of eye-popping statistics or incredible, memorable performances. And there's not a lot of competition, especially given that Jalen Hurts got injured. But Patrick Mahomes is without a doubt the best player. And without a doubt, not only does he fit the statistical accolades to be able to achieve this, but he also is the most valuable player, which I appreciate. Because a lot of times, people give this award to the guy that had the best stats, which isn't always the most valuable player. But Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable player. He was able to take the Chiefs to the #1 seed, post Tyreek Hill, in a world where a lot of people didn't believe he could do it. Defense wasn't the greatest, although not the worst. And he had to deal with a new cast of weapons. Still had the #1 offense in the league. Undeniably, extremely talented, extremely productive. Led the NFL in yards, led the NFL in touchdowns. He had the stats to back it up. And he had the plays and the moments and the incredible things that he does on the field to also back it up. So Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of 2022, and I don't think there's really a huge argument for any other player. Those are my NFL award picks for the 2022 NFL season. Let me know yours in the comments section below. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to spike the like button, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!